Hello everyone, my name is Alexa Lazat and we're going to be beading a flower pin today. So in your kit you should have a piece of stiff felt, a piece of softer felt, some beading thread, a pin, your pattern, a beading needle, and whatever seed beads you choose. So the first thing we're going to do is take off a piece of string. I usually do about 2 arms lengths, but don't worry too much about this because if we ever run out of string, we just tie a knot and start with a new piece. Once we have our string, we're going to thread our needle. Next, what we're going to do is tie a knot at one end of the string. So this is how I like to tie my knots. And then you want to get 2 to 3 knots in the same spot, depending on how thick your string is. This thread I have is very thin, so I will do 3 to 4 knots. And we can now begin beading. So your needle should be on its thread with this piece towards the end. So we're going to take our stiff felt. This is what we're going to be beading on. And you can place your pattern right over top. So the first thing we're going to do with this flower is start right in the center. So you want to find that center. And you're going to bring it up and pull it all the way until the knot catches like this. Now this is going to be the center of your flower, so choose whatever color you want for that very center piece. I'm going to choose gold, and we're going to place the needle about 1 bead's width away, and we're going to pull it all the way through until it's sitting like this. Next, we want to reinforce this bead, so we're going to come up again on the back side and make sure you're right near your bead. Pull all the way, and we're going to go through this bead again. Once the bead is threaded again, we will now go down one more time. Make sure you're going right near the bead. And your bead should feel a little bit more secure now. Next, we're going to go up again through here and make sure you're going through, or make sure you're going right next to the bead, like so. And next we are going to do the circle around this bead. So make sure you're doing the color that you want to do. You can do the center all one color. I wanted to have 1 gold center and the rest be yellow. And for this one, you want it to be, the standard is probably about 7 beads. So you'll put all 7 beads on at the same time, like so. And then you're going to bring it all the way down to your flower, like this. Next, we're going to form a circle like this to make sure that it's the right amount. This one looks like a good amount. Depending on the size of your beads, sometimes it might look like it's not enough or too much, so you can always add 1 or take away 1. This looks good for me, so what we do is, if you have your beads go around in a circle like this, you might need to hold it down with 1 finger. what we're doing is we're going to put our needle through the first bead only, like this, and then we're going to pull it up, keeping care of the other hand holding the beads. Just thread it through, and what we want to do is keep a hold of these beads or the thread, whatever you can, or sometimes I just hold the center like this, and you're pulling this work. This may happen. You just want to place it in the center again. Try your best to place your center bead and just keep pulling, and just do your best to navigate it and keep pulling tight and tight, and it will eventually go like this. You may have to, it takes a little bit of messing around sometimes. Just have patience, and you want it to be really tight. So just keep pulling, pulling, keep your thumb on it like this, and you will get to this point. Now, what we want to do when we have this, make sure it's nice and tight. Now, we're going to keep it in place the best we can, and we're going to now put the needle through because we want to stabilize these beads. So go where your needle is coming out, or sorry, your thread, go where your thread is coming out. You're going to go right next to it like this, and then you're going to pull it all the way through. Now you're going to have a situation that looks like this because we only stabilized one part. So now what we're going to do is we're going to keep bringing the needle up through the center of the flower in between a gold and a yellow bead, and then we're going to pin it down on the outside. So we're going like this over and over again to stabilize this entire part. So make sure your flower is centered, kind of, and we're going to try to get our needle up through the center like that, in between a gold and a yellow. Pull it up, and we will now begin stabilizing each and every petal. So we're going to go right here, and then next we're going to go right there. We're going to go all the way around in between each yellow bead. I will now place my needle on the outside where the thread is coming out. And you will pull in order to stabilize that petal like that. And then we're going to do it with each petal, and I try to go in an order. You don't necessarily have to, but it's just easier for my brain. So I'm gonna go each petal next to each other. Same thing over and over again. I pull the needle up between the gold and the yellow, and then I'm gonna go to this next petal, and I'm gonna pin it down on the outside. And I'm gonna go around this entire mini flower now. So now you can see that each petal is stabilized down. There's a thread in between each yellow bead. So now we're going to start on the next circle outside this yellow circle. So we're going to bring make sure our needle and thread is up at the front. So I'm just going to bring my needle back up here, and then we will begin the next circle. So after that initial part, we now bead with about, I like to use 3 beads. And you're going to pull them down to the flower, and we're going to start creating a circle around our first circle like this. So place them how you like them, and then we're gonna pin it down by putting the needle right up to where we like it. Pull it through like so. So now for these, what we're going to do is hold it tight, and we're going to be coming up, and similarly to the circle, we're going to be threading in between each bead. So I'm going to bring my thread like a bridge over this one and thread like a bridge over this one. So come up in between the two beads that you just put on like this, bring it up and pull tight, and then we're going to create a bridge right here, and we're going to create a bridge right here. So first, I'm on this one, so I'm going to put the needle right down here, pull through, and then it creates that bridge right there to hold it down tightly. And then I'm going to come up again on the next one that I didn't pin down yet. So this one right here, in between that first and second bead. And I will now pin down right here. So I'll put the needle right on the other side there. Sew and pull through. Now what you want to do is come up at that first bead that we pinned right here, and we want to reinforce these beads, so we're going to go through them again. So I will go through all 3 of these beads I just pinned down like this. And pull through. Tighten it as needed. Now basically we just keep doing this, so make sure your thread is coming out at the end there. Then we'll pick up 3 more, or if you'd like to try more, you can do that. Bring it all the way down, and we will just keep forming it around that initial circle like this. So place them how you like, pin down, and do that whole process over again, just like I showed you. So you'll come up in between those 2 beads, those last 2 beads there, and then create that bridge over that thread there. Almost missed the beads there. Like that. So I have now reinforced these 2 strings here, and now we're looking at this piece that separates the 2 parts I just beaded. So first I beaded these 3 beads, and now I'm beading these 3 beads. So we want to reinforce the link between those 2 sets. So we also want to bridge a thread over that separation as well. And then what we want to do is go up a bead before the second part started. So I just beaded on these 3 beads, so I'm going to go back 4 beads now, because we want to reinforce these first 3 beads with these next 3 beads. So we're going to go back 4 beads and go through all of them. And that's what we want to do throughout this whole process, is you want to go back at least 1 bead to reinforce it to the first set. So you'll take it through and repeat this until you finish this center of the circle. So once you have gone all the way around, the last thing I like to do is bring your needle up. So my needle is up at the front, and just go one more time around all the beads to ensure they are secured. So once you've done that, we're ready to start on the petals. And for the petals, we're gonna bead each outside first, and then we'll go in on the inside. So the first thing we wanna do is come up on the bottom of one of your lines right there. So I'm gonna try this one right there. So I'm gonna start right here. So we're gonna pull up our needle. And again, I'm gonna go in with 3 beads. So I want my outside to be gold. So we're gonna take those 3, bring them down to the flower. Just like this. And push it down as much as you can. And then we're going to pin it down. So like this. And then we're basically just going to do the same thing we've been doing. We're going to come up in between each bead and create a thread bridge between each bead. So I'm coming up right here. And then I'm going to bead down right across from it right here and create that thread bridge. Just like that. And then I'll do it for each one. So I'm doing the second one now. There we go. So now both of these are secured, but we want to do what we previously did where we go through the beads again. So I'm now going to come up at the front of the gold line again. And I'm going to go through these gold beads again. Just like that. And now we're ready to add more beads. So now we're just going to continue around this line. I like to stop right here before I start curving, so I'm going to try 2 more beads and see if that fits. If not, I might just want to do 1. And I do like the look of that. And you don't have to follow the pattern exactly. So I like the way this looks, so I'm going to keep it like this. So I'm now going to pin those down. And we're going to do the same thing that we just did. I'm now going to put a thread bridge in between this one and this one, and then I'm going to come up one more back, remember? One more back than we just put on, and take the needle up. So now that you've completed your first straight line, we're going to move to the curve of the flower. So for this one, I don't know how many I usually grab. I'm going to try 4. And we'll see how it goes. So bring a few beads down. And the key with the curve now is to use your thumb. So use your thumb to try to get it as close to this line as possible. And use it as your guide like this. And don't get so frustrated with yourself, especially people who are just starting out beading. It's not gonna look beautiful our first time. It's all about practice. No one is a naturally good beader. It's practice, practice, practice. So we want to do that same thing where we're going to keep making those thread bridges in between each bead. Our grandmothers had so much practice at this, and that's why they were able to create such beautiful work. And that's all we have to do today too. find time in our busy lives to practice. So I'm going to go all the way back to that straight line. Just keep making these thread bridges. Make sure it's nice and secure. Come on, my last one here. Paper's all ripped here. And then we're going to do what we've been doing. We're going to come up one bead before, and then we're going to reinforce those beads by sending another line through here. And there you have it. And now you're just going to continue this process all the way through. Keep doing this curved straight and go all the way. So after we finish the outline of the flower, we're now going to start filling it in. So we're going to start at the bottom of any flower you choose first. And you want to go on the bottom nearest to a side. So once you pull your thread up through, we're basically going to do the same thing here. So for the inside of my flower, I'm going to do this dark blue color, and I'm going to start with 3 beads. So we're just going to do the same thing that we've been doing, and we're going to do the inner outline, just following that first layer that we have already created. We're doing the same method, 3 to 4 beads, and then thread bridge over each bead. And then we'll do the same thing. We will go through those 3 beads to continue adding on. So now we'll add another 3. And I will keep placing it along this line like this until I have this outline done. So we'll get to this point where we finish the first inner lining of the petal. And then next, all we want to do is just continue filling these spaces in. So I'm just going to go in again and keep filling it up until it's closed. So I'll bring my needle up, start at the bottom here, continue with my 3 beads, and continue my circle. And we will just fill in until the petal is full. So I put 6 more beads into the center, and I am just doing my thread bridges now. And then I will go through all of them one more time and finish all the petals. will start on this one now. And if you ever do run out of thread, all you need to do is tie a few knots in the back here. So take your needle under one of these stitches and then go through that circle and do it 2 to 3 times. And then you can cut it off and start with a new one. Make sure you tie your new knot and bring it up. So once you're all finished with your design, you want to make sure to tie a knot in the back, a few knots, wherever you can. I like to move them around a little bit. And I usually do about 3. And then you can simply trim your excess off. When you're all finished with your design, you can rip the paper off. I usually use tweezers. It makes it much easier to grab the smaller pieces. And you can also rip the paper off after you do the gold, just the gold design. And it's easier to get the paper in the center. So the next step now is cutting this piece out. So I like to cut out from the back so that I make sure I'm not cutting any of the thread pieces. And it doesn't need to be too close, but I like to get close enough. Like so. And then we'll cut out the same design on the backing. So we're going to glue these pieces together, but before we do that, we need to make sure our pin is sewed to this backing. So now to sew the pin onto the backing, we're going to do the same thing with our needle and thread. I have a knot at the end of my thread and my needle is threaded. So we're going to sew into the holes that are in the pin. So you start from the back and then I come up through the hole. And then I will just go weave in and out of these 3 holes. And I will just do this as many times as I need to help the pin feel secure. Now at the end, we will tie our knots to make sure our pin stays secure. So next what we want to do is glue our bead piece to our backing piece, and I use my craft glue, but you can really use anything you have around the house. It's not essential to glue because we're basically just holding it in its place while we edge the edges. So you can use whatever you have, and if you don't have anything either, we can always just hold it in place while we bead. It's just nice to have that glue to hold it in place. So I will just put a little bit of glue on the backing and place it. Now the last and final step is edging. So there are two ways that I know how to do, so I will show you those two ways, and you can choose whichever way you like the best. So we're starting off again with our beading needle and a piece of thread. I have my knot at the end of my thread, so just begin anywhere you like, and we're gonna go upwards. So start anywhere on the edge. And I like to go a little bit closer to the edge like this and pull up and make sure your knot gets stuck on the back there. So the simpler edging technique is taking 2 beads. So I'm gonna edge with gold. So we're taking 2 beads, and then we're gonna go 2 bead lengths over. So about 1, 2, and we're gonna go up. And pull those 2 beads up. And then we're going to go upwards the second bead. Make sure you're pulling tightly, and then we're gonna go down the first bead. Like this, and it's gonna look a little crazy. You have to do it a few times to help it look better, so don't worry too much. So lastly, we're gonna go up now, up this second one. And then this is when you finally should start to see, once you pull it, is when you'll start to see the edging coming together. So you start out with 2 beads, but for the rest of the flower, you would just do 1 bead at a time. So I'm gonna pick up 1 gold, and then we'll just go 1 bead length over, go through to the front, and then we just go up this gold bead. Pull tightly, and it'll start forming an edge like this. So again, just 1, 2 is only to start the line, 1 bead over, go up, and then we go up this bead. And you just do that all the way around until you get to the end, and you just connect that last bead to this first bead by continuing the thread into this one and then tying a knot somewhere right here. Now, if you want it to be a little bit more eccentric, then you can grab 2 beads. So you start, when you first started out, you need to grab 3 beads, but if you're continuing the line, then you can just do 2. So you grab 2 beads, and you're still gonna do the same thing. You're gonna go 1 bead length away. But what differs here is you're only gonna go up this first bead. You're gonna leave that second bead just kind of hanging up there. And then when you tighten, it's gonna start to look like this. So again, you pick up 2 beads instead of 1, go 1 bead length away, and then you only go up that second bead, and you leave that middle bead to go like this. So that is the different ways that you can edge, and you'll just go all the way around until you have your beautiful pin. Thanks so much everyone for watching, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on my social media. All my social media is Desert Me Tea. You can reach me on Instagram, Facebook, and I do post TikToks as well. So feel free to check me out. My website and my Etsy will be linked below. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks again for purchasing with me and watching.